You're watching News 8 on WROC.
CPA Michelle Staebell is back with us. Michelle, thanks for a few minutes. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Hey, we're into June, almost halfway through the year. It's hard to imagine. For some folks, this is an important time of year to start assessing where they're at with their taxes. The second quarter estimated payments for some are coming up on June 15th. What do we need to be thinking about here?
Right. It's a good time to remind everyone that the U.S. tax system is a pay-as-you-go system. So taxes need to be paid into the IRS or into the government as the income is earned. And it's a really important time to make sure that taxpayer situations are keeping pace and their withholding is keeping pace, so there are no surprises next year when they file their 2022 tax return.
Right, and we should be clear, this is for people that are going to owe the government money. If you're getting a refund, this doesn't really apply to you, right? But you've got to make sure that you're in that category.
Right. Well, there's no penalties if you are getting a refund or a taxpayer is getting a refund. But with this day and age with identity theft, I think it's never a good idea to have several $1,000s of refunds, because taxpayers could get that money in their pocket with each paycheck. And then if somebody steals their identity and files a fake tax return on their behalf, they wouldn't be out that money. So I think it goes both ways. I think it's a good idea to be closer to a break-even situation where taxpayers file their tax return, they might owe a little bit without penalty, they might get a small refund, but huge swings in either direction. That's kind of my goal when I'm giving advice.
Yeah, it's good advice. A great point there. As far as sending the money in, if we do owe and we do need to make that payment, how do we go about it?
So employees have the luxury of their employer doing that for them. They never see the money. It's taken right out of their paycheck. It's sent into the government. But in this economy, we have a lot of self-employed individuals, gig workers, independent contractors that don't have that luxury. So they need to stay on top of their personal tax situation, figure out how much money they've earned that hasn't taxes withheld, and they might have to send in quarterly estimated payments, and that was the second quarter due date that you mentioned earlier, next week, June 15th, and that's the date that the IRS will assess penalties. There's 4 of those dates throughout the year, and depending how much the taxpayer has sent in on each of those dates is how much the IRS may assess a penalty based on.
Time for one more point here. Don't set it and forget it, right? And especially if you're changing a job mid-year as well. It's important to stay on top of what you're contributing, right?
Yes, many taxpayers find the new hire paperwork that you fill out the first day of your new job very confusing. So the W-4 is a form that sets up how much payroll or how much federal taxes would be withheld in an employee's pay, and a lot of taxpayers get confused by that form. It is overly confusing in my opinion, and they set it and forget it. They kind of cross their fingers and hope that it results in a refund at tax time, and I don't think that's a good strategy. I think it's a good idea to routinely look at pay stubs and see what is the withholding, what is the taxpayer situation, and then at any point during the year a taxpayer can fill out new paperwork to adjust, to increase or decrease the withholding to keep it on pace with what they want, a refund or owing a little bit, but hopefully not owing enough to pay penalties.
We will leave it there. Michelle, as always, thank you. If you missed any of this conversation, we'll have it online as well at Rochester First.